All right, like I said, welcome everyone. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to the STEM OPT Extension Workshop. Hopefully you already know who I am by now. My name is Vivian. I am one of the advisors in the ISSO, and I helped you through your 12-month OPT process, and I'm here to help you once again. So I only have one rule during this workshop, and that is please wait until the end to ask questions. It can get really distracting, not only for me, but for your peers when I'm trying to get through a really important point and the chat is just blowing up. So I promise you, most of your questions, if not all, will be answered throughout the workshop. And then we'll have more than enough time at the end for you to ask whatever you need to. Okay. So just be patient, write your question down, and I promise we will get to it. All right, so workshop overview. What are we going to spend the next hour talking about? So, one, we're going to see if you are eligible for your STEM OPT extension and kind of what that means for your employer in terms of their responsibilities while you're on STEM OPT. We're going to go through the application process. So we're going to hit when you can start applying, your I-983 form. And then we're going to show you how to submit your STEM OPT I-20 request, okay? And then the last two bullet points, we will go over some reporting requirements. So, STEM OPT is a little different than 12-month OPT. There's more that you need to be on top of. So, we will go over that. And then we also have some frequently asked questions or scenarios that we get all the time from students. So, we are going to address those. All right, so let's keep it moving. Are you eligible for your STEM OPT extension? Okay. So students who are eligible for STEM OPT are currently on 12-month OPT, and you hold a degree in an eligible STEM field. Okay. So we have a direct link right here to the ICE website that has the current STEM list of SIP codes. So SIP codes are on your I-20 on the first page, and that's how we differentiate what your degree is in and if you are eligible for your STEM extension. Okay, so that is linked for you right here. So, for my students that, let's just say you got your bachelor's in computer science, but you never used any of your OPT, and you went straight into your master's, but you got your master's, let's just say, you got an MBA that isn't exactly STEM certified or does not fall under the STEM OPT category. You can use your prior STEM degree. So you can apply for your STEM degree based on the bachelor's degree that you earned in computer science. Okay. It is extremely, extremely rare for this to happen. I think maybe in the past few years, we've only had maybe two out of like, I don't even know. 3,000, 4,000 students that have applied for STEM OPT since I've been here. So if that is the case for you, you can use your prior STEM degree if it was obtained in the US at an SCVP certified school. The degree was at the bachelor's level or higher, and your degree was earned less than 10 years from the date of you applying for STEM OPT. All right, so if you think you fall under this specific category, just reach out to me after with all that information, and I will let you know if in fact you are eligible or not. All right. Oops. All right. Employer responsibilities. So, This is when things start to change a little bit from 12-month OPT. Okay. The job requirements are stricter this time around on STEM OPT. For one, no self-employment is allowed. And that is because STEM OPT is all about having a bona fide relationship with your employer and how they will be supervising you. So, no self-employment. Employers must be enrolled in what's called an E-Verify program. Um, that is one of the first questions for you to ask your employer if, in fact, they are E-Verified, because you absolutely have to be working for an employer on STEM OPT that is in that E-Verify program. If they are not E-Verified, it doesn't take that long for them to sign up. And usually the E-Verify approval comes in within a few weeks if you want to get a head start on that. So, um, no self-employment, have to be e-verified, and your employer absolutely has to pay you, okay? Which is different than on 12-month OPT. On 12-month OPT, you've been able to work unpaid internships, for example. Those all come to an end on STEM OPT. I know the question is going to be like, what is the minimum an employer can pay me? So, what we give as our recommendation to students is we always say, it should be comparable to a US citizen that is doing the same job as you. Okay, so that really should be matching up. It should be the minimum of what your employer should pay you. Employers have to sign and complete an I-983 form. Okay. What is an I-983 form? Great question. So, on our handy dandy, let me just see what we're going through here. All right. So on our handy dandy STEM OPT website, we actually have some great application resources that are linked for you. Okay. The first is the STEM OPT workshop slides, basically what we're about to go over right now. Secondly, is the filing guide for the I-765 for STEM OPT. Okay. So very similar to the 12-month OPT guide. This is going to take you through the STEM OPT I-765. Okay. Underneath that, we have two I-983 resources. So one is a detailed instruction that you can give your employer if they've never filed or filled out the I-983 before, so you can give them this resource. Secondly, we also have a template for you as Norm the Niner, him filling out the I-983 form. All right. So the I-983 form is basically not a travel plan. Your responsibility with your employer that you are learning on STEM OPT and you are taking exactly what you learned in your degree and are focusing it on in the workplace. Last but not least, USCIS may visit your employer work site to verify whether they are meeting the STEM OPT program requirements. Okay. We are seeing an increase in these employer site visits. Okay. And that is because USCIS is trying to combat fraudulent employers. All right, so they will find out if, for whatever reason, your employer is doing some unsavory things or some shady things. So just keep that in mind, okay? It's not a matter of if USCIS finds out, it's a matter of when they find out. How can you apply for your STEM OPT extension? Well, great question. So, when can you apply? So, the earliest that you can apply for your STEM OPT extension is 90 days before your current EAD card expires. Okay. So if you remember for 12-month OPT, the earliest that you could apply was 90 days before your graduation. Same timeline here. You can apply as early as 90 days before your EAD card expires. Okay. You can request, so you can submit your OPT I-20 request for STEM to the ISSO as early as 100 days before your OPT end date if you want, but we will not take it any earlier. Okay. USCIS absolutely has to receive your STEM OPT application before your EAD card expires. Okay, so let me say that again. USCIS has to receive your STEM OPT application before your 12-month OPT expires. All right, and that is extremely, extremely important. If you are not keeping track and you submit after your EAD card expires or during your grace period, for example, you will be denied. Okay, you will not be allowed to be on STEM OPT. And you have to submit your OPT application for STEM to USCIS within 60 days of the ISSO issuing your STEM OPT I-20. Okay, so if I issued your STEM OPT I-20 yesterday, um, that means that you have 59 days left to submit this to USCIS, okay? And just like on 12-month OPT, they are very, very strict with that 60-day window. So, first thing that you need to do is you need to begin filing and filling out the I-983 form with your STEM OPT eligible employer. Okay. So let's just say you have ran it past them that they are e-verified, they check off everything they need to be a STEM OPT employer. So now you have to fill out the I-983 with them. Okay. Like I said, there's two direct links to I-983 resources. All right. You only need to fill out pages 1 through 4. Okay. So you can see here on Norm's I-983 form, the top half of this, you will find all of this information in section 1 on the first page of your I-20. All right. So you will fill that out. For DSO, you can use my information. You can use anyone that works in the ISSO. We're all DSOs. And if you need contact information, you can either take it directly from like an email signature if we've emailed you, or all of our information is on the ISSO's website as well. All right. You are going to put your SEVIS ID number, which again, you know is on your I-20. Your STEM OPT requested dates, okay? So the first half of these dates are going to be the exact same as your 12-month OPT EAD card dates, okay? And that is for folks who did not get approved after your start date. So if you were approved late, then your EAD cards will be a little different. But for the most part, all of you will have the same month, the same date as your 12-month EAD card, but the years will be different. Okay. So your years will be, let's just say, June 1st, 2026. And then the end date would be May 31st, 2028. All right. So continuing on, you're going to fill out the I-983 form with all of your information. Um, for the most part, you will not be applying based on a prior degree. So the prior degrees for the folks that I said are applying for their STEM OPT based on a degree they earned years ago. Okay. Your employment authorization number is your USCIS ID number on your EAD card. are going to sign here, date it. So section 3, 4, and 5, along with 6, need to be completed with your employer. Okay. So for section 3, your employer should have all of this information about the company, obviously. So, um, whether you go to HR for this information or if your supervisor has this information on hand, that is where you'll go to find it. All right. So, um, start date of employment on your I-983 form should be the first day of your STEM OPT, okay? Even if you've been working with them on 12-month OPT, this is the first time you will be working with them on STEM OPT. So the start date of employment has to be the first day that you're working with them on STEM OPT. All right. So you're going to fill this out. Signature of employer official. Okay, so this could be your supervisor. This could be your HR person. This could be legal counsel that your employer has or CEO. Um, doesn't matter, but it does have to be, consistent throughout your I-983 form. All right, so we're going to scroll down. Again, employer site information. All right, so this is where you will be conducting your day-to-day work. All right. If you are hybrid, so if you are working like 3 days from home, 2 days in the office, your site name will be the office that you go into twice a week. Okay. If you are 100% remote, your employer site information will be where you conduct your day-to-day remote activities. Okay. So if you are 100% remote for site name, you could put like 49er mining and then dash remote, and then enter your own personal address here. Okay. This is for SEVP site visit information. They just want to make sure that you are actually an employee of this company and where you are conducting your day-to-day work is officially listed by the employer. So for these sets of questions, they're pretty easy. They're really just asking you like, how will what you learned during your degree, how is that applicable to your role with the employer? Um, how will you be supervised? How will your success be measured? Things like that. 3 to 4 sentences. Please do not put in one sentence for each of these because I will deny your application. So you should really be putting a lot of work into this, okay? Because the I-983 form is not going to USCIS in any way. It's really just staying with the ISSO. But we do get circumstances where SEVP is like, hey, can you send this student's I-983 information to us? We want to verify their employer or something like that. So that's why it's great to put in a lot of time and effort into your I-983, especially for these goals and objectives. So for this entire section. All right. So again, your employer is going to have to sign off on this. And really, that is it. So you do not need to fill out page 5 at all when you are applying for your STEM OPT I-20. All right. So just pages 1 through 4 are what you need to submit. All right, so let's just say you have filled out the I-983 form with your employer. It is good to go. Step 2 is you have to pay the $225 STEM OPT deposit fee. This covers you for all the advising, so the additional 2 years of advising that you will be getting from the ISSO. And you can easily just go to this direct link, and it will take you directly to the university e-marketplace to put that order in. Okay. So you've paid the deposit, you have your I-983 form. Now is time for you to submit your STEM I-20 request to the ISSO in your ISSO portal. Okay, so remember, the earliest that you can submit is 100 days before your EAD card is expiring. So you're going to log into your ISSO portal. Okay. I know you all graduated last year, but you should know that this is the ISSO portal. We did switch things over to a new software in December of 2024, so about a year ago. But this is your ISSO portal. What you're going to do is go to F1 Practical Training. You are going to go to STEM OPT I-20 request. Pretty easy, right? And in that STEM OPT I-20 request, it will ask you to upload your I-983 form. It will ask you to upload a copy of your STEM OPT deposit fee receipt. We absolutely need to see proof of that before we can issue you your STEM OPT I-20. And then it'll also ask you for your EAD card right now for 12-month OPT, and you'll have to enter all of your like employer information in there as well. Okay, so pretty straightforward stuff, and then you will submit to the ISSO. Okay. We have a 10 business day processing time for STEM OPT I-20s. All right, so about 2 weeks. Please do not email us one that you have submitted your request. We don't need to know that. Secondly, do not email us inside of those 10 days, 10 business days of processing and ask where your STEM OPT I-20 is. Okay. Um, Promise you we will get it to you within that processing time frame. Things can get a little hectic at peak times. So I am the only one that processes both OPTI 20s and STEM OPTI 20s. And for a good period of time, those things overlap. Okay. And I start to feel a little crazy. But no worries, you will get your I-20 in the appropriate amount of time, okay? When your I-20 is issued for STEM, you will be emailed by our office stating like, hey, your STEM OPT I-20 is now ready for download. And take a look at that STEM I-20, make sure everything looks good. And then it's up to you to move forward with the process. All right. So by moving forward with the process, we mean submitting your STEM OPT extension I-765. So again, like I said, we have a handy dandy guide that you can follow. So it's going to be basically the same thing this time around, except a few different new questions for you to answer. Okay, so I'm not going to go through this entire I-765, nor do we have any like STEM OPT reviews like we do for 12-month OPT. This is your second time around, okay? So you guys should be feeling a little bit more confident than when you first applied for OPT. Premium processing, so you guys know all about that. You do not need to apply for premium processing unless you really feel like it's necessary for you. Um, Starting on Monday, they upped the fee for premium processing, so it's now $1,780 instead of $1,685. So, on top of the $470 filing fee, that's about $2,250 altogether. So it's a good chunk of change. Um, It's up to you if you want to apply for premium processing or not. Okay, that's a personal decision. But the one cool thing about the STEM OPT extension is if you apply before your EAD card expires, you get 6 months to keep working past your EAD card expiration um, while your STEM OPT is processing. All right, and I'll talk about that more in a bit. All right, so here is when things start to get a little different. So you're gonna have to answer what is your degree, what's your employer's name listed in E-Verify, and then their E-Verify number. All right. And that's because USCIS has to double check and verify that the employer you're working for is indeed E-Verified. So we're going to scroll down. Again, lots of the same questions you guys already know. Same evidence that you need to upload. Again, a passport photo. For step 22, this time around, you actually do have an EAD card to upload. So you will be uploading the front and back of that for this specific question. Here you're going to upload the STEM OPT I-20 that we will issue to you. Again, remember you have to sign in blue ink. All right, so these are any additional evidence questions that you need to submit for STEM OPT. So they're going to ask you proof of your college degree, so your STEM degree diploma. So you can upload a copy of your diploma, or you can upload an official transcript from the registrar's office to confirm that one, you've completed your degree, and two, that degree was in a STEM zip code field. Institution accreditation. So this will not apply to 99% of you, okay? The only people that this applies to is, again, for those students that are applying for a STEM extension based on a degree they earned long ago, okay? This is not for students that are applying based on their UNC Charlotte degree they earned last year. All right, so you can skip this, no problem. All right, and then same with the additional information, you really only need to include if you've renewed your passport since you last entered the US, okay? And basically that is it. Same kind of process as 12-month OPT. Something that has changed though is biometrics, okay? I'm sure most of you have heard by now that in December, USCIS passed this new rule that applies to OPT and STEM OPT students. So before, biometrics did not apply to your population, but now they do. All that means is, and we have the steps listed here on how the process works. Um, you will be notified in your USCIS online account that you've received an RFE and it's for a biometrics appointment. Okay. Within a few days after that, they will upload another notice giving you the appointment date, time, and all of the information that you need. All right. What you need to bring to your appointment is your passport. You need to bring the appointment notice. And you also need to complete page 2 of the notice that they will provide for you. Um, you're going to take all of that to your appointment. All you have to do is just go in there and take your photo, and that's it. That's all you have to do. If you log back into your USCIS account, you may see that it's asking you, like, please respond to this RFE, which is the biometrics request. You do not need to upload anything to that, okay? Your response to the RFE is you attending your biometrics appointment. All right. So, nothing else that needs to be submitted. And hopefully, you'll receive a case decision a few weeks after that. So, it's a good sign when you get your biometrics appointment scheduled, just from what I'm seeing from the students that are graduating this semester and are applying for OPT. That means that, you're towards the end of your processing. Okay. So something to keep in mind. USCIS processing time. So I'm sure that's the burning question. How long will it take for my STEM OPT to be approved? Last semester, the students that applied for STEM OPT, we saw them get approved within 4 to 5 months. Okay. Because you have that 6 month extension to keep working, USCIS really tries to milk that as much as they can. And that is why there are slower processing times for STEM OPT. All right. So, we can hope it'll take a shorter amount of time, but in the back of our mind, we need to be prepared that it may take longer than that. All right. So again, biometrics appointment we just went over. Don't forget that we have more information on the process and what you can expect in our handy dandy STEM OPT filing guide. All right, so let's say that you are approved for OPT for STEM OPT. Yay! Um, this is when things get to be a little different because there are different reporting requirements on STEM OPT. All right, so you will no longer have access to update any employer information in your SAVP portal. All right, so the only time you will have access to update anything in your portal on STEM OPT is your personal information. So if you move and need to change your personal address, you can update that. Or if your phone number changes, you can update that. Okay. Everything else, any changes that you need to make while on STEM OPT, so that includes any employment changes. So let's just say your office changed, your location changed, you received a new title for a job, or you resigned from a job, or you have a new employer to report, or any validation evaluation reports. Those will all be done through the ISSO portal. Okay. So it's a little bit different because on 12-month OPT right now, it's just you and your portal and you update it whenever you want. But when you're on STEM OPT, it is a little different. So luckily for you, you're going to submit any changes at all during STEM OPT through your portal, and then we will go in and update your portal for you. All right. So it's actually much easier for you guys this time around. More work for me. All right. So again, this is your ISSO portal. You'll see right here under practical training, STEM OPT reporting, validation, or change. Okay. So this is where you'll be submitting any kind of changes, any kind of evaluations or validation reports on STEM OPT. All right, so changing employers. What do you need to do when you change employers on STEM OPT? And you guys don't have to memorize all of this. This is all on our website, and these workshop slides will also be posted on the website. So when you're leaving one employer and joining another, you need to complete two things. One is you need to report the end of your employment with your old employer. You do that by submitting the bottom half of page 5 of your I-983 form. Okay? So you know how I said we do not need page 5 while you're submitting your initial STEM OPT request. This is where page 5 comes into play. All right, so if you are leaving your employer, they will need to sign the bottom half of page 5 along with you. And you do have to submit, 3 or 4 sentences about what you did while you were at that job and the progress that you made. Okay, so previous employer evaluation, and then you also need to submit a brand new I-983 form with your new employer information. So pages 1 through 4. All right. So pages 1 through 4, new I-983 form, and then if you're leaving an employer, you need to submit the bottom half, so the final evaluation. All right. Um, Validations and evaluations. All right. So on STEM OPT, you do have to check in with the ISSO at least 4 times. Okay. So there are reports that you need to make every 6 months while you're on STEM OPT. And those are called validation or evaluation reports. All right. So for your 6 month report, which will happen 6 months after you've started your STEM OPT, you need to submit a validation report. All right. What does that mean? A validation report means that you are going to log into your SAVP portal. You're going to make sure that everything is 100% accurate. If everything looks accurate, then you are going to submit your validation report to the ISSO, and then we will go in and submit that validation report on your behalf. Okay. If you see something in your portal and you're like, oh, like I never reported my new employer, which is pretty bad, then you have to submit that new employer information along with your validation report. All right. So for your 6 month and 18th month reports, you only just need to do that, logging into your SAVP portal and just confirming that, yes, everything looks accurate. For your 12-month and 24-month validation reports, you need to also attach an evaluation. So what those evaluations are again, page 5 of the I-983 form. So the top half is for your 12-month validation report and your evaluation. So here you're going to write like what you've accomplished in the past 12 months. 24-month is final evaluation once again, just because your 24-month is your STEM OPT authorization being over, and that's why it's also a final evaluation. All right, so for 12-month, we're going to fill the top half out. For 24-month, we're going to fill out the bottom half out. All right, so those are what evaluation validation reports mean. And again, this is where you're going to submit that information as well. Okay, so this e-form right here is for any kind of update on STEM OPT, employer, validation report, evaluation. Everything goes through this e-form. Okay, now we are going to go through frequently asked questions by you guys, usually when you're on STEM OPT. This is almost over. I know this is super painful, you guys, but it's good information that you need to know. All right. So, do I have to stop working if my STEM EAD card is not approved before my start date? No, remember how I said, as long as you submit your STEM OPT extension to USCIS before your 12-month EAD card expires, you get a 6-month extension to continue working. All right. If your employer asks for proof of that, you can just give them your receipt notice that you have submitted your STEM OPT extension. What should I list as my site address on my I-983 form since I work from home? So that's a great question. And we kind of went over this. So site address is the address that the ISSO has to report in CVIS. Okay, so it has to be accurate. This is where you are physically working day in and day out. Okay, so again, if you're working remotely, please list your remote location in the site address section. And then on page 4 of the I-983 form, you can also write, like here in the additional remarks section, you can write is 100% like remote. Okay, if you feel better about doing that, that's completely fine. All right. Can you apply for premium processing? Yes, you can. We went over that as well. So you do not have to make the decision to apply for premium processing right when you submit your application to USCIS. If down the road, for whatever reason, your STEM OPT is still pending, and let's just say you are starting a new job and your new employer absolutely wants you to have your STEM EAD card in hand to start working. You can then log into your USCIS account and request premium processing then. All right. So you don't have to make the decision initially, just know that that is in your back pocket if you need it. And premium processing just guarantees that they will give you a response within 30 days. Can I travel while my STEM OPT is pending? So we generally don't recommend that. We want you to wait until your application is approved and you have your new EAD card in hand. Okay. There is a risk of being denied re-entry to the US if one, you do not have your STEM OPT EAD card approved. So that's again a personal decision. That's just our recommendation. Have students in the past traveled while their STEM OPT is pending? Yes. Have they had any issues? Yes and no. So it's really up to you to weigh the pros and cons of traveling. Obviously, there are events that you may need to go abroad for to visit family. So keep that in mind. If you are going to travel, we feel better if you travel like before your 12-month EAD card expires. Okay. Can I change employers while my STEM OPT is pending? Our answer to that is no. We recommend that you wait until your application is approved and then change employers. We say that just because USCIS is going to check to see if you are like currently employed with the employer that you applied for your STEM OPT extension with, okay? That's why you need to provide your employer name in your I-765 as well as the E-Verify number and name, okay? Um, if you change employers and we update your I-20 and we update your information, it might not get to USCIS in time, okay? And that could trigger a denial or that could trigger an RFE. All right. So that's just our opinion on it. We'd rather you wait to change employers after you're approved, but you guys, it's your own destiny. So if you do absolutely have to change employers while your STEM OPT is pending, um, we have exactly the process you need to follow on the STEM OPT FAQ page on the ISSO's website. Okay. All right. What documents do you need to travel on STEM OPT? So Same documents that you needed on 12-month OPT, valid passport, valid visa, your EAD card, I-20 with a travel signature from the past 6 months, and then proof of employment. So that could be like a job verification letter. If you do not have proof of employment on STEM OPT, entry back into the US is not guaranteed, okay? And you may be susceptible to more questioning by a Customs and Border Patrol officer if you don't really have any proof of employment with you when you re-enter. Okay. How many days of unemployment time do I get on STEM OPT? So the maximum period of unemployment is 150 days. Okay. So that includes any days of unemployment time that you have during your 12 months of OPT. So, for example, if you are ending 12-month OPT and you've only used 30 unemployment days, those other days, the 60 days, will accrue and then um, carry on to your STEM OPT. So then in total, you would have 120 days of unemployment time. All right. So it's kind of up to you to do the math on that. It's always up to you to track, your employment dates and kind of see what your unemployment days are looking like. All right, so ISSO information in case you all have forgotten. We do have 2 days of phone advising for our OPT and STEM OPT kids that are not in the Charlotte area and you want to speak with an advisor. You can sign up on our website for that. Please only email one ISSO staff member regarding a question. All right, so do not email both me and Dylan. And I until SSO, which is our general office inbox. You may think that you will get a response quicker, but you'll actually get a delayed response because we have to cross-check with everyone to make sure, hey, did you answer the student already? Did you not? So please don't do that. You only need to email one ISSO staff member. All right. All right, questions. Please write in the chat if you have any questions related to STEM OPT, the application process, the I-983 form. If you have a super case specific question that only applies to you, please just email me. I want to take the appropriate amount of time to review what you're asking and do my research before I respond to you, look at your record and everything. All right, 2 questions. My employer is filing for the H-1B in this cycle. When would you recommend to start this process? Do you mean your STEM OPT process or your H-1 process? 90 days before your EAD card expires. That's when you should start applying for STEM OPT. If your H-1 gets approved later on, there's nothing that you need to do because your SEVIS record will auto-complete because of your new change of status. Do we need to update the EAD card separately? No, no need. You don't need to update us with your new EAD card or anything, but you will have to give your new EAD card to your employer. Do we need to update our employment information on the ISSO portal as well? So if you're asking if you need to update any STEM OPT employment information, yes, that's all done through the ISSO portal. Is it necessary for employer to sponsor for STEM OPT? Nope. STEM OPT is still a benefit of your F1 status, so no sponsoring needed for the employer. Didn't receive biometrics appointment notification on my USCIS account. I can see the reschedule option. Do I have to do this before filing for this? No. No, 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 no. You might get a biometric service request after you submit your STEM OPT application to USCIS. Um, I mean, post OPT employment information. Do we need to update that on the ISSO portal? Nope. Any 12-month OPT employer updates are done through you in your SEVP portal. My employer did my biometrics when I joined them, so would I have to do it again or is it a different process? Um, Probably don't have to do it again, but I'm not sure. This is a new thing that they're rolling out for the I-765, so you may have to do it again, you may not. Any more questions?